say, were very hard to kill.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So, The Old Guard. You know what? This one actually was a really good surprise for me. I hadn't watched the trailer before I watched it, and I'd say if you think you're going to watch this movie, don't bother with the trailer. A lot of the stuff is spoiled in the trailer, and I think you're better off just going into it blindfolded. I'm quite glad I did that, and it made for a much better watching experience. But yeah, anyway, I should probably talk a little bit more in depth, shouldn't I? So, Old Guard is this comic book adaptation based off a comic book with the same name, which centres around a group of immortal people who have banded together to become this sort of solo acting, first aid responding, special ops unit. And they essentially just try to put their input in life in order to right wrong things and save others when necessary. Every person in this group became immortal at some point in history, with all their powers given to them randomly. Some became immortal during the Crusade period and lived ever since, some during the Egyptian times, and others very recently. It made for a pretty nice dynamic with all these different characters from different histories talking to each other and trying to live it out in the present day. It didn't dive too much into that conflict, and I kind of wish it did a little bit more. It would have been more interesting to learn about these people more in their past versus how they're living today and how they adjusted. But when you've lived for about 800 years, it's probably not very exciting. It's probably more of a slow transition. But anyway, yeah, Charlize Theron helms the group as the leader, supported by a rather fresh-faced cast, if I do say so, who at least I haven't really been able to place in many other films. You have Kiki Lane, Matthias Schoenaerts, and Luca Marinelli, who I've not really been able to place in any other films that I've seen. Marwan Kenzani I do recognise from Aladdin as Jafar.
The lamp. Where is the lamp?
And then you have Chiwetel Ejiofor starring as a minor role in this film, which is a bit of a waste of his talent, to be honest, as I've known I've seen him play in some great roles previously. Oh yeah, and the villain's also played by none other than Dudley Dursley, and he's looking a lot skinnier these days too. I just could not see anything else but Harry Potter when I was watching him as a villain in this movie.
36, but last year I had 37!
Poor boy's going to be typecast for the rest of his life in the same roles, isn't he? And to be honest, the cast isn't that bad in this movie, especially the group of mortals in particular. They each try towing this delicate line at being the point where they've all seen so much stuff going on in life that they're almost completely unfazed by it, but also each trying to have their own specific characters and personalities to stand out within the group. I think for the most part they tow it pretty well. The villain, on the other hand, gave me the opposite vibes. Almost way too cartoonish and over the top, and very one-dimensional and shallow. Which, granted, it's a comic book movie and it's a bit of action, so you can't really expect too much from the villains. But when we've seen more recent movies give you such great villains, to see these movies go back to such beige characters, it's always a bit of a shame in my eyes. I love a good villain in a movie, and this just doesn't have it. But yeah, you probably came here to watch the action, and my god, the action is good when it is on. The movie kicks off with this great opening sequence, and it chucks you into it pretty quickly. And you get to see a lot of great ass kicking with some pretty cool weapons. But then it just grinds to a halt in Act 2. It tries to find a way to best explain to you each person within the group and what they've dealt with, as well as also trying to introduce a new character. And I love the way the new character was introduced, but it just came to this grinding halt where you feel like you've been watching them just talk and be sad and miserable for about an hour. And it almost got to the point where you're just kind of wanting something else to happen to make it a little bit more exciting. There's bits here and there of action to try and keep it spiced up, but it definitely felt like Act 2 was the part bringing down the rest of this movie. It does kick up again into some great action scenes in Act 3 into the finale, and it does leave it with a bit of a nice taste in your mouth afterwards. I've seen Charlize Theron look awesome in movies like Atomic Blonde, and she does the same here as well, to be honest. But yeah, you can tell that they wanted to save a lot of the details for later, along with a lot of sequel baiting. It's kind of a hard scenario because they have to give you a bit more character and depth, while at the same time not boring your brains out. But at the end of the day, most people just came for this. And the fight choreographing is pretty awesome. It's not too chopped up and too heavily edited that you can still tell what's going on most times. And it's not always in a dark, pitch black room. And I'd say it's a pretty good time. But yeah, like I said, they do sequel bait this pretty heavily towards the end of it. And I do hope it gets one. After watching this movie, I can say I enjoyed it quite a lot. And I definitely want to see where it goes in the future. So I'd be more than happy to watch another one. And I'd be happy to recommend this to people looking for a bit of an action flick. Just be prepared for a bit of a slower middle section. So yeah, that's it from me today, guys. Thanks for listening. Let me know if you've seen The Old Guard. I think it was trending on #1, so it's been pretty popular. But I'd love to know your thoughts on the movie as well. And as always, stay tuned for more videos on movies, animes, and video games. Until next time, guys, take care. Bye bye.